Hello and welcome to the 2007 Tour of Britain. This year's event stretches over 7 days, with these 101 riders racing through the countryside with one goal in mind: to be wearing yellow in Glasgow at the end of the tour. It's the start of a gruelling week for the 17 teams, starting with a prologue time trial at Crystal Palace before racing down to Southampton on the south coast and out around Exmoor in the West Country. There are stages through the rural West Midlands and the rugged Yorkshire countryside before racing up through the Lake District. Then we cross the border for a finish in Glasgow, rounding out a race of nearly 1,000 kilometres through 18 hotspot sprints and over 17 categorised climbs. Last year's winner was Denmark's Martin Pedersen, and this year the CSC rider returns to try to become the first man to successfully defend his Tour of Britain crown. 24-year-old Martin Mascant makes his Tour of Britain debut with the Rabobank Continental team. He's the #1 ranked rider on the UCI European Tour from a strong showing early in the season. Robbie Hunter made history this summer by becoming the first African rider to win a stage on the Tour de France, finishing first in Montpellier. The 30-year-old South African sprinter leads the Barlow World team. At just 21, Geraint Thomas was the youngest rider to take the start at this year's Tour de France in London. A veteran of 2 Tours of Britain, the Welshman is a former junior world champion and has shown great potential on a variety of terrains. Mark Cavendish, a 21-year-old from the Isle of Man, rides his 3rd Tour of Britain, having won the overall points competition last year, and so far this season has 8 victories to his name. 24-year-old Linus Gerdeman makes his Tour of Britain debut, fresh from a stunning stage victory on the Tour de France. 33-year-old Roger Hammond has ridden all 3 of the previous editions of the Tour of Britain, winning stages in each of the last 2 years, while riding for the Great Britain team. This year, Hammond will be in the magenta of T-Mobile and is looking to recapture his early season form. And so to the first 2.5 kilometres, a circular course around the National Sports Centre at Crystal Palace, with a small Category 3 climb which will give 4 riders points towards the polka dot jersey as leader of the King of the Mountains competition. The bikes the riders use in the time trial are quite different to the ones you'll see later in the week out on the road. The technology involved is very sophisticated. Cycling has come a long way since the days of penny farthings and steel frames. The sport has evolved into a slick, high-spec affair, all in the pursuit of those fractions of a second.
The best teams in the world make just as much use of technology and testing as some of the best Formula One teams, whether it be in wind tunnel, CAD, computer assistance, or stress analysis. Today's bikes are lighter, stronger, and generally more reliable. And a lot of the reason is because of the intelligent use of materials.
One thing that's perhaps not immediately obvious when you look at the bikes is just how light they are. For instance, this frame is lighter than this loaf of bread.
Most of the bikes are a combination of either just carbon fibre and aluminium. There's also the regulations of the UCI to keep in mind. There's the minimum weight, there's also the measurements we have to keep in mind, and we're right on the edge of technology, and we're keeping within the rules.
And technology fundamentally means better aerodynamics.
The way in which aerodynamics of the bike can be improved primarily through wheels. The wheels can be a reduced number of spokes or even a solid looking wheel to help it slice through the air. But also the frame itself can be made more efficient, more slippery, and in conjunction with aerodynamic handlebars, it allows the rider himself to get into a more aerodynamic position.
Well, the technology is all well and good, but it's what the riders do with it that counts. As the time trial gets underway, we can join our commentary team, Rob Hales and Hugh Porter.
Thank you very much indeed, Jill. Well, Crystal Palace is the setting here for this 2.5 kilometre time trial. It equates to roughly 1.62 miles, and the route is round the old motor racing circuit that passes the athletic track and the aquatic centre. They get away out of the starting house, and then it's downhill where they'll pick up a lot of speed, and then it's all about maintaining it. There is a time section as well, and the quickest in the time section will be given the Eon King of the Mountains jersey. Well, František Rabon, the 29 starter, actually set the standard, and here he is in the closing stages, stopping the clock at 2:32.03. And next to him at almost 3 seconds was Daniel Contrini of Tinkoff, David Blanco from the Duja Tavera team at 3 seconds almost, Andy Tennant of Great Britain 4th, and then Matt Goss in 5th spot. This is Geraint Thomas on the hill section.
Be interesting to see how Geraint goes this week. He's one of our current World Team Pursuit champions. He's got the Tour de France, his first ever Tour de France, still in his legs, I would imagine. So hopefully he'll be able to pull something out. Now,
this is Luke Roberts. He's an Olympic Games gold medalist from Athens for the Team Pursuit. And Roberts is pretty quick as he gets underway. He's on the downhill section. Here comes Thomas then up to the line. Let's have a look at the time here for Thomas. It's looking pretty impressive to me. Oh, quick. Second place for Thomas. Good ride there. 2:32.17. Robbie Hunter, who won a stage in the Tour de France and finished second in the green jersey competition, next to go.
Very, very fast rider is Robbie, as we've said, up there in the Tour de France in the sprints. So this should be very interesting. It's a very, very fast circuit. It's quite twisty, but exceptionally fast, so it should suit him down to the ground.
He's on the same team as Thomas for Barlow World. And now this is Romain Fayou for the Agritabel team coming in. Good ride there by Fayou, and he's a big sprinter. We're going to hear a lot about him in the Tour. Luke Roberts on the timed hill section. Just nearing the summit, Roberts, as we sight Serov of the Tinkoff team. This is one of the powerful Russians, comes from a junior track background, so this should be a good time. Oh, he takes the lead. So Serov has taken the lead away from Rabon, who sat at the top of the leaderboard for some 54 minutes. Back to Robbie Hunter. Now then into the starting house, and we're looking at Mark Cavendish. He's got the race face on here, Cavendish, as he tees himself up for a tilt at trying to win this prologue. He is a fine track rider, former World Madison champion. He partnered the man alongside me, so this short course will suit the sprinter.
Well, I tell you what, Hugh, if he makes it round the bends, he's going to be right up there today, I'm sure of that.
Now Cavendish really fired up now, getting that gear spinning. The next man to finish will be Luke Roberts. Here he comes, Roberts. Roberts is on a stormer as well. Coming up to the line, what's he going to stop the clock at? Let's have a look. Oh, Roberts goes second. 2:31.85 as we get back with Cavendish on the course, and he's spinning that gear and he gets out of the saddle to try and inject more pace.
Cav here seems to be fighting all the way round.
This is Ed Clancy, a World Team Pursuit champion. The 22-year-old from Huddersfield sights the line. Final metres for Clancy. Clancy now, 5th place for him, 2:33.38. Last year's winners now in the starting house. Martin Pedersen from Denmark, the 24-year-old.
Quite interesting here. I see he's riding a normal bike, which I don't know why, but we'll see how it goes.
So he hasn't elected to use a bike, a low-profile bike with the aerodynamic bars. So Pedersen sets about the task ahead of posting a good time in the time trial. Here comes Robbie Hunter. Hunter, the specialist sprinter, up to the line. 6th place for Hunter, 2:34.18. Now this is Cav, absolutely burying himself up the time section. The quickest over the time section in this test against the clock will, of course, receive the King of the Mountains jersey. The Manxman is motoring as we look at the Australian coming in, Zachariah Dempster. Dempster, a 19-year-old based in Varese. Oh, good ride. Second, 2:31.46.
Pedersen seems to be fighting his bike a little bit here. I really don't understand why he's not got a low profile. It is a technical circuit, but there are some very fast sections on here.
Now then, back with Mark Cavendish. He's got the line in his sights now, the sprinter extraordinaire. Cavendish, this is going to be really quick. This could take the lead. Cavendish goes into the lead, 2:27.61. If my calculations are right, Rob, that is something like 39 miles an hour.
That's pretty quick, Hugh.
Here is Nikolai Trusov, another talented young Russian on the Tinkoff team. Second spot for him, 2:28.82. So one more rider to come in. This is Martin Pedersen, the winner of the Tour of Britain last year. And he doesn't look too good to me. I think looking at the clock, he's going to be something around about 10 to 15 seconds slower than the Manx Express, Mark Cavendish. 63rd then for Pedersen.
Confirmation of today's result then. Mark Cavendish leading the general classification, finishing ahead of 2 Russians, Nikolai Trusov and Alexander Serov, riding for Tinkoff credit. Geraint Thomas in 7th place and Ed Clancy in 8th making it a good day for the British cyclists. Mark Cavendish pulls on the yellow jersey, his 9th win of the season, a popular winner here at Crystal Palace and the first British rider to wear yellow in the race in its current form. He also leads the Eon King of the Mountains competition, a first for the young sprinter after a very gentle climb in South London.
Really thought I hadn't done too well, and I came rolling the car park and they're like, yeah, you're the fastest down, and I was like, whoa, okay. You know, it's not a surprise that I've won it. I wasn't expecting it, but you know, my track background, 2.5k is actually quite a good distance for me. So, you know, although I'm a sprinter, you know, you're sprinting 250 the last meet, you've got to be there the last few kilometres. So you're constantly on a high wattage, you know, for the last 2.5k of a road race. So I just put it into a time trial, and yeah, there we go.
Yellow jersey, though, not a bad way to start the week.
I know, it's good, you know. Wearing the yellow jersey, I think the surprise is the King of the Mountains. I think the first King of the Mountains I've ever won, really. Yeah, it'll be brilliant. You know, we've got a good team here, and I'll be proud to be wearing the yellow jersey tomorrow in the first road stage.
Stage 1 in the south of England should be a sprinter's stage. From Reading to Southampton at 140 kilometres, this is the shortest road stage of this year's tour. With 3 hotspot sprints and 2 small Category 3 climbs through the Berkshire and Hampshire countryside, this stage then enters the New Forest for a tight city centre finish in Southampton. After the short, sharp shock of the prologue time trial, this is where the Tour of Britain really gets going. Today they head out onto the open road, though I doubt the cyclists will have much chance to see the sights along the way. Early on, the riders will pass close to Highclere Castle, the largest country house in Hampshire. The route hugs the valley of the River Test for several kilometres, passing through the likes of Whitchurch, which boasts the last working silk mill of its kind in the south of England. From there, it's on to the New Forest, which provides the backdrop for the last 60 kilometres. Now, as I've already mentioned, this stage is likely to be won by a sprinter. It's a specialist role within the team, but how exactly do the sprinters differ from the other cyclists on the road?
Sprinters are the type of guys that have not many efforts in them during the race, the ones that just have the power to just be able to sprint as hard as they can for 200 metres in the biggest gear they can, and basically the fastest man at the end wins.
And is there a different training approach for a sprinter? Is there different muscle groups, for instance, that you would work on that perhaps the mountain climbers maybe?
Yeah, I think power and speed's a lot to do with a successful sprinter. Obviously, you need the endurance to be able to be there at the end to sprint, so basically in training you try to do a 4 or 5 hour ride, and then you go to a little point on the road, find a lamppost 200 metres, and you just try and sprint as hard as you can 2 or 3 times towards that lamppost, and just basically that's what sprinting takes to be successful.
So let's see how stage 1 develops. It could be absolutely crucial because for the last 2 years, whoever has won the opening stage has gone on to win the race.
Well, this is the field just rolling out of Palmer Park in Reading, and there's loads of children turned out to cheer the field on. There's a favourable wind and warm conditions for the run down to Southampton, a distance of 87 miles. There are 2 climbs in the King of the Mountain competition, they are 3rd category, and there are 3 hotspot sprints. So that will set the scene up nicely. This really almost the hors d'oeuvre of the Tour of Britain. Geraint Thomas on the right, just chatting to Mark Cavendish. But once the neutralised flag has been pulled in, the speed will be on for real. He's Cavendish in yellow, and he'll have on his mind those hotspot sprints, because if you get across the line first, you get 3 seconds, 2 for second, 1 for third, and he'll be out to try and add to his lead, which he has established in the time trial. This is the first of the hotspot sprints at Pamber Heath, 7.2 miles into the stage, and you can see that Cavendish is just back there off the wheel of Garrido of Duja Tavera, but it is the speed of Cavendish that takes the 3 seconds ahead of Garrido. So there it is, confirmed. That means that he's gained another 3 seconds. He's in a pretty mean mood. Here's the sprint again, Rob.
Yeah, Mark, you timed it perfectly there, not using too much energy, obviously the start of the week, but he's really taken this race by the scruff of the neck, and he must be in supreme form.
So we're approaching the first climb now. This is at White Hill, and this is Rabon of T-Mobile. He's a Czech rider, pretty talented, former European road race champion, and František Rabon comes away here to pick up the 4 points in the King of the Mountains contest. So at the moment, T-Mobile are blowing pretty hot. It was Caldeira of Dujitavera that came over in second spot. Ben Swift of Great Britain was up there, confirmed in third, and Pedersen, last year's winner, fourth to get the 1 point. Sweeping round a left-hander here, high speeds in the beautiful countryside as we're going through the Tess Valley and on through the New Forest to Southampton. And two riders making a big effort to try and get clear here. This looks like Artecha to me, and Roy Akers of the Skill team. Artecha riding for Fuerteventura Canarias.
I can see the Telecom riders in the back not wanting to take up too much of a chase. They just want to keep a little bit of energy back for later on in the stage.
Bit of a problem at the back here. Puncture, I think a rear wheel puncture.
Looks like Ed Clancy's been riding in the gutter again.
Good spot
he'll
there,
he'll
Rob.
soon get a wheel and be back in the bunch.
So 60 kilometres into the stage. Now it's an opportunity, of course, for the school children to be released from their lessons. And these are the two leaders now. It's Mikel Artecha from the Fuerteventura team and Pierre Roy Akers, a Dutchman riding for Skill. I don't think the T-Mobile squad are too bothered about this at the moment. They've got the strength to try and reel them back in. And look, the lead is almost 4 minutes for those two.
The only problem here, Hugh, is we only have teams of 6 riders, so it's very difficult for one team to control the race all on their own.
But T-Mobile are lined out at the front of the field now, so it looks as though they are going to try and reel in the two escapees, because they obviously would like to tee this up for another stage victory. And Artecha is looking across at Roy Akers there to say, come on, pal, let's have more contribution to the pace setting.
Telecom are going to know exactly where these two guys are on the road. They're going to get race radio back to them, so they'll be controlling it and just using enough energy just to bring them back as and when.
And they're working well, heading on to Kent's Oak Climb. This is the second counting climb in the King of the Mountains, and it looks very much like Artecha is going to take this. Spaniards love the climbs. Artecha is over first, ahead of Roy Akers of Skill Shimano. Now they settle down once again on the descent the other side. This is what it's all about in cycling. They relay each other by sharing the pace setting at the front, then they swing over, and then the next rider takes it on, and that's how they keep the pace high. It's referred to in cycling parlance as bit and bit. Now then, the pressure's on here, Rob, because the field are fragmenting.
You could see the speed of the peloton there. They're all in single file, and the Telecom are working like a donkey.
I don't think he's very interested in the race. He's turned his back on the race. But we are, and I'm just waiting to see whether or not T-Mobile are going to pull those leaders back. Yellow jersey Cavendish enjoying the armchair ride as he's been sucked along by his teammates.
And Mark's looking very, very comfortable there. He'll be fairly confident for the finish, but there are some very good sprinters here, so he's going to have to use his team wisely.
Just caught a glimpse of Ian Stannard there, another young rider that's coming through the British ranks, riding on the T-Mobile squad. Good crowds have turned out to support the Tour of Britain. They're loving it, and it's ideal weather for bike racing. This is the last sprint of the day. Who's going to get it? Well, it's obviously going to be Roy Akers. Is he going to be Roy Akers? Well, a bit of a burst on the banjo there as they got to the line, but it was Roy Akers that took the final sprint at Hatchet Pond. Artecha was second. Now then, this is the gallop for third place. Now remember, there is still a second to be grabbed, and this is a fast lead. It looks like Chilingi, who's just had a good ride in the Benelux Tour on the left, but Cavendish has got the extra horsepower to pick up the second, going over the line in third place. So he really is motoring today, is Mark Cavendish.
And yet again, Mark there, just using enough energy just to score the points that he needs.
Well, the leaders are just ahead on the left, but the T-Mobile team have done their job, and they've brought them right up to the breakaway pair of Artecha and Royakers. So now it's all about setting yourself up for the sprint, and T-Mobile will come to the head of the peloton to look after the interests of Mark Cavendish.
And this is where it gets fairly exciting in the middle of the bunch here. All the sprinters will be getting their riders, placing their teams. Each rider will know exactly where they're supposed to be in the line out, getting their sprinter up to the line as quick as they can.
And of course the reason for the lead out train is to lift the tempo so high that no other team can challenge them.
Exactly, Hugh. It's basically like the pea in the pod, and the pea is the sprinter, and the rest of the guys just get them up there and protect them.
Well, they'll be raising the tempo higher and higher, the teammates of Mark Cavendish, and the last one that'll peel off from the front will be Roger Hammond, and then it'll all be down to this fella, Mark Cavendish, in the closing metres to try and tidy up the victory. If he gets it, it'll be his 10th win of the year, and that will put him just one shy of Alessandro Pataki's record as a first-year professional. Here they come into the finishing straight now, and it's Cavendish leading it out, and right alongside him is Kent Hoven of Chocolate Jack. The challenge, but punching the air with delight is Mark Cavendish to win the first road stage from Reading to Southampton and pick up a very useful 10-second bonus to further increase his lead. Terrific piece of sprinting there by Cavendish.
I think Mark will be extremely happy with that. He's stuck all 10 fingers in the air. Yeah, number 10. Not bad for a first-year pro.
Another great day for Mark Cavendish, winning the stage in Southampton, thanks to some fine work from his T-Mobile teammates, including Roger Hammond, who finished 4th, Geraint Thomas in 5th, making it 3 British riders in the top 5. Cavendish now with 10 wins in his first pro season on the road.
To be fair, I didn't have to do anything. It was, the other 5 riders of the team today who did everything for me. I only had to do the last 100 metres. The way Roger delivered me, I didn't even have to sprint then, it was perfect effort by the team all day. They rode hard all day on the front. Timed it perfect to get the break back, and then perfect lead out by Roger again. So got one more to get me season target now, and then I'll be happy now.
So Cavendish with a 14-second advantage over Nikolai Trusov in the general classification, Pete Rouyakers of the Netherlands in 3rd. The young Manxman retains the yellow jersey after a terrific team effort into Southampton. The red, white and blue sprint jersey went to Pete Rouyakers of Holland, riding for Ski Shimano, a reward for his effort in today's breakaway.
It's my real first jersey in a race pro, so it's nice to get it, but the 6 seconds were much more important, so get in the top 10 classification. So.
The king of the mountain competition, after 2 Category 3 climbs, is led by T-Mobile's František Rabon. First over White Hill, and of course he led the peloton over Kent's Oak. So Rabon takes the polka dot jersey after stage 1. Stage 2 races through the West Country over 169 kilometres, starting from Yeovilton before a flat 70-kilometre run through the Quantock Hills. Then on to Exmoor and 3 climbs, including a tough Category 1 up Porlock Hill, before culminating in a downhill run into Taunton. The route takes in much of Exmoor, with the Bristol Channel offering a spectacular backdrop. It winds through the narrow lanes of several pretty Somerset villages, before finishing in the market town of Taunton. Well, the countryside really is quite spectacular, but it's demanding too. For the last couple of days, the sprinters have dominated, but things should open up today, and we should get an indication of who may be the eventual overall winner. One man hoping to make an impact is last year's winner, Denmark's Martin Pedersen.
I feel really motivated, and I know probably today is the day maybe they could decide the whole race, because it's so open and the time difference is not that big, but I know it's going to be a hard stage, so if we're not going to be in the breakaway, we have to be ready from the first climb.
Well, this is the rollout from Yeovil. They're heading off to Taunton today on stage 2 of the Tour of Britain. It's 106 miles, and the comment by last year's winner there, Pedersen, is absolutely right, because there's 86 riders within 1 minute of the yellow jersey, and today is a real tough day, and it'll all start really after about 54 miles when they get to Prologue Hill, which is a first category affair. And with squads only having 6 riders, T-Mobile might find it very tough to contain the keenness of the field as they launch the attacks.
Well, after the first climb, there's around 50 miles left of pretty vicious terrain, so they're going to want to save their bullets.
Well, we're heading towards the first of the hotspot sprints today. That's at Ottery. It comes after 11.6 miles. So Piet Royakkers, the overnight leader, will be trying to add extra points to his tally, but it's actually Christoph van Heerden that gets the 5 points, ahead of Zak Dempster from Serov and Kethoven, as at the front of the main field, it was the yellow jersey of Cavendish. Long climb here as the field stretches out, and there is confirmation of the sprint. It was Van Heerden that got the 5 points ahead of the young Australian Zachary Dempster.
Looks like there's a little bit of action from the bunch. This is certainly going to speed things up a little bit.
What's happening here then, Rob? The yellow jersey, Cavendish, picking up loads of bottles. That's unusual.
This is very unusual, Hugh. He's either gone back to speak to the director, and while he's there he's taking bottles up, but why he's not got a teammate with him, I don't know. Maybe he's not up for defending the jersey today.
Well, maybe so. We're approaching the second sprint at 43 miles. This is at Dunster, and last back of the CSC team cruises over the line to get 5 points, ahead of Adriana Palomares, the Spaniard on Fuerteventura. This is a sprint for third. Let's have a look at that. Looked like the rangy Australian there, Zachary Dempster, picking up the 2 points. Confirmed Van Heerden got the 1, and it meant that Back has actually picked up 3 seconds for crossing the line first at that sprint. Well, the field will be conscious now of the fact that they're getting very near to the ascent of Prologue Hill, and Gilly's already there amongst the spectators.
Well, this is the top of Prologue Hill. It's the first big climb of the day, and it's the first Category 1 climb of the whole tour. It's about 4 kilometres, that's 2.5 miles, and is very, very steep in places. Bad enough walking. I wouldn't like to be on a bike.
Well, I can confirm those words of Jill, because I actually raced up this climb myself in the milk race a few years ago, and it is an absolute brute. Well, this is the peloton just preparing then in the lower slopes, but I can tell you that the 2 leaders, Palomares and Back, are approximately 1.5 minutes ahead of them.
Yeah, I don't know Palomares, but Lars Back, he's a former winner of the Tour of l'Avenir, so certainly a rider not to mess with on this kind of terrain.
It's Back just in second position at the moment, but Palomares is 33 years of age. No real victories to his credit, but you can never ever discount a Spaniard when it comes to a climb, because they revel in this kind of terrain. And he's small as well, but believe me, he can punch well above his weight, and it's Palomares that's tapping the rhythm out at the head, and there doesn't seem to be at the moment any sense of urgency in the main field.
No, you can see the back of the peloton here. Everyone seems to be staying together, so I guess they're riding fairly conservatively on the front, but there's still plenty of heavy roads to come, so they'll know that, and they won't want to use up too much.
Not really the best position to be there at the tail of the long peloton, because it's like chasing a shadow, and as the pace is lifted at the front, then you have to react immediately at the back to pounce into the wheel ahead. But still going well, and Palomares continues here to turn the screw. Back just tucked in the wheel. It's a good move, this, because if they can get over the summit of Prologue, then they've got a lovely descent then that'll take them towards the second climb of the day, and that's at Watersmeet. Always the best place to be, at the head of the field in tough terrain. Field still filling the road out here, so we're looking for the long thin line to develop, because when that happens, that's always a telltale sign that the screw is being turned firmly at the front. What are the Tinkoff riders at the back? They're a strong team, and I expect them to start to make their presence felt as this tour begins to unfold. Back continues now at the front here. There are 10 points available for the first rider over the top, 8 for second, and it goes right down to 1. So this is a big counter in the King of the Mountains competition. It's about 4.5 miles actually, this ascent, so you need to pace your effort well. And the ideal scenario here would be for these two to get over the summit and then 1 or 2 riders to jump clear of the bunch to strengthen the brace of riders ahead, and then of course they could knit together, and then that could be a significant move.
Yeah, these two guys tapping out an extremely good rhythm, working very, very well together, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when they get over the descent.
And as Rob said, Bach is a talented rider, former winner of the Tour de l'Avenir, which is a sort of small Tour de France, and it's for the younger riders like the under-23s, and that's where they learn their trade. Nice, easy, relaxed style there for Bach. His hands in the middle of the bars, just turning that gear methodically, but it is the Spaniard still, Palomares, at the front, who is going nice and strong at the front. Under the trees. Nearing the summit now. Contrasting sizes there, you can see the Danish rider Bach, he's very rangy, and the Spaniard small and punchy. That is the typical trademark size of a Spanish climber. Now then, this is the leader in the hotspot sprint competition at the back. That's Peert Royakkers of the Netherlands and the Skill Shimano team. So just behind him as well, we've got members of T-Mobile and Tinkoff. And you get the feeling that there's going to be a sudden eruption of power here at the head of the field, with them fragmenting as they chase down the two. Nearing the summit now, and there's a massive crowd waiting to greet the leaders. Palomares picks up the 10 points. Back, the Danish rider on CSC, gets the 8. And now they're going to set about plummeting down the descent and getting that big gear spinning. But it is unforgiving countryside here across Exmoor. It's never easy. In other words, you get over the top of the climb and still you're laboured as you still keep that rhythm going.
And with only 2 riders away, there's still good points on offer for the sprint, so the peloton will still be trying to set themselves up and set their riders up.
Yes, this is 3rd spot being contested now, and this is worth 6 points, and that could be very valuable for riders that are bidding to try and win the King of the Mountains. That's the 4th place rider, that's David Blanco. He's a powerful Spanish competitor, a man who's actually finished in the top 10 in the Tour of Spain during his career. But it looked a little bit like Ben Swift, actually, that's gone away, the youngster from Rotherham. And we'll wait for confirmation of that, but it did look like Swift, it was, and it was David Blanco coming through into 4th place. So the youngster from Rotherham, who is actually known as a stagiaire here, which means he's an apprentice in this tour, running on the Barlow World Team, and if he impresses the manager enough, he will be flagged up to be given a full pro contract. But the leaders continue now. They're over the top of Prologue, and the next climb that they will be tackling is Watersmeet at 68 miles. Lovely sight that, as the fields sweep around the hairpins. They'll be travelling at something along the lines of 50 miles an hour on these descents.
Yeah, it's an extremely fast piece of road, this, Hugh, and it's quite a nice change after doing the long climb that they've done. But they've still got to try and save something for later on.
Well, the next climb of Watersmeet is actually perceived to be a 2nd category ascent, and you get 6 points for going over that first, and that runs down to 1. But that gives you an indication of the speed as they fly down this descent. You've got to be vigilant, because as the road twists and turns, you need to be just feathering those brakes. It's an interesting sight. Well,
not today.
No, not today. Look at the crowds, massive crowds out here to support the Tour of Britain. And of course, they were all hooked into watching the Tour de France, and so now they want to watch more pro bike racing. 2 leaders continue, Palomares and Bach, and here is the main peloton sweeping through Linton. Just breaking up a little bit, but that is normal, because it's hard to stay tight into the wheel when you're coming to left-handers like that.
This is very difficult on the legs, this kind of section of road. You just come off a nice big fast descent, and then you breaking into a corner and you straight onto the climb again.
Now this is the group that's broken away from the front of the peloton, and they are about to pick up the leaders. In fact, they have done, so that front group has now grown, and we've got 4, 5, so this is a useful little group here. Palomares and Bach have got company. Now then, this is an interesting development because we're on the second climb of Watersmeet at 68 miles, and I can't see actually a T-Mobile rider amongst that group.
No, I think they've all seemed to have missed it. Whether they've ridden too hard earlier on in the race remains to be seen, but this is certainly a hard part of the stage now.
Well, there's just under 40 miles to go. Now, what's happening here? He says, come on, I want you to lift the pace. That's young Matt Cook, actually, a youngster who's riding in the Tour here, and he says to that rider, come on, you've got to contribute to the pace setting. Now, this is what it's all about. If they start to take their turns evenly across the open moors here, they could establish quite a good lead.
Yeah, Hugh, as you say, it looks very open, and I would imagine there'd be some pretty strong crosswinds. So a group of 6, that's just a nice number.
But of course, with the crosswind situation, this could force the field to break up significantly, and we may just get a sizable group that goes clear. But the leaders are beginning to go about the task of staying ahead of the rest of the field. Looks good. There's one or two, in fact there's 2 riders there from the Fuerteventura Canaria team, the Spanish boys. I don't know too much about this team actually, but they're certainly impressing here on this stage.
Yeah, the bunch has split into 2 there. Obviously you've got the stragglers here who are already struggling on the climb, and now they're on a very hard bit of section of road, so that split, that could create some havoc.
Just getting very near to the line now. This is Watersmeet Summit, and Serge Pauwels of the Chocolate Jack team goes over the top there to collect the points. 6 points for him, that'll be useful. Cook coming in second, and in third place it was Munoz Bannon of Fuerteventura Canarias and Berger of Agritable in 4th spot. Cavendish is there, 4th spot back in the main peloton. Now then, they've got about 40 miles to go now to the finish, and 1 more climb. This is the main field, just coming over the top. The pace looks to be lifting significantly here. The lead has increased, and so has the size of the group that are ahead. There's about 31 riders now in this front posse of riders that have gone clear. A significant split.
Yes, Hugh, it'll be interesting to see what the combination is. Here you can see Roger and Cav following him, and they're chasing. It seems to me that they've actually missed the split completely.
Well, they are actually almost 11 minutes behind the leading 31 riders, and what's happened is they've run out of steam by trying to chase all the attacks down in the early stages. Now the leading group are heading into the streets of Taunton now. It's all about getting yourself set up for the burst for the line to try and nail down stage 2. Little probing attacks will form as riders try to go clear to avoid the sprint, because not all the riders in this group have got big, powerful finishes. And there is a good cross-representation of teams, and that's why riders can launch themselves off the front. This is Fuerteventura and Chocolate Jack representatives trying to avoid the sprint and establish a small advantage. And this looks quite promising, actually, but they're not fully committed. They're looking back, and the Chocolate Jack rider will not come through. And you can see what happens here. The rest come right back up to join them. And that looks like Pete Royackers down there, the leader on the hotspot sprint competition, just rolling through in second place. Tinkoff have got strong representation here as well, and they could figure strongly in the sprint, particularly Alexander Serov and Nikolai Trusov, the track riders from their junior days. They'll have lots of speed as well. These are the twists and turns that will line them up, ready for the run into the finishing straight, and now the pace is being lifted significantly. It was once again, it looked like Royackers to me on the front, and now we have one of the young Australians from the AIS team beginning to lift the pace. Coming towards the final bend that will line them up then for the run to the line under the gantry. It's getting very, very exciting indeed here now. And Luke Roberts, also of the CIS team, the Australian gold medal winner for the team pursuit in Athens, is amongst them as well. So he's got a lot of horsepower. That looks like Trusov to me going on the other side of the road, and Roberts reacts to try and get in the wheel. Oh my goodness me, look at that. That looked like Hunter coming through, and he looked to collide with the Australian at the side, but it's Trusov on the right being challenged by Roberts. Oh, it was so close, but Trusov, the 22-year-old Russian, just about got his nose in front there. Roberts coming through for third, and I think it was Romain Foyou, the Frenchman on Agritabel, that got third. But look at the melee here, riders all over the place.
There seems to be more bikes than bodies, Hugh. Whether anyone's gone over the barriers, I don't know. But,
well, Stephen Katovan, he's down there, the green jersey, so that's costly for him. Let's have another look at it. That's Robbie Hunter trying to come through the middle. He's found a way. Oh, and the Australian just leant on him, and he leant on Pedersen, last year's winner, and subsequently down went Katovan. Now, what happens? They all have to cross the line. This is Dan Lloyd, who is a very good British bike rider. They all have to cross the line, but they will be awarded the same time as the winner because the crash occurred in the closing 3 kilometres. That's the green jersey, Katovan, and he has taken a serious whack. Just look at this. He's in a lot of pain here, this fella, Katovan, and look at the leg. Deep lacerations there, and he needs hospital treatment. He's one of the Fuerteventura riders coming over the line. I think that's Atecha limping over the line there. This is last year's winner, Pedersen. Look at the state of the jersey. Now then, where's the bike? That's the... Oh, look at the bike. The forks have completely snapped in half. Now, these pictures were provided to us by a fan in the crowd, taken on his mobile phone. Oh, there is just nowhere to go, and all the rest of the field, it's just like actually entering into the scrum of a rugby match. This is almost 11 minutes later, and Cavendish just gently pushes his bike over the line at the head of the peloton.
A dramatic climax to stage 2, Russia's Nikolai Trusov avoiding the crash to win in Taunton ahead of Australian Luke Roberts riding for CSC. Daniel Fleeman, one of the DFL cycling team, the first British rider to finish the stage. So that win gives the Tinkoff credit rider the lead in the general classification, 8 seconds ahead of Luke Roberts, but he now has a lead of 10 minutes and 54 seconds over the early race leader, T-Mobile's Mark Cavendish. A big day then for Trusov, enjoying his first professional win. He heads the points competition and claims the yellow jersey. The King of the Mountain competition is now led by the Chocolat Jacques rider Serge Pauwels. The young Belgian rider was first over 2 of the stage's 3 climbs and now has a 1-point lead over Adrian Palomares.
For me it was a good day. I felt quite strong. In the beginning there were some breakaways, but I stayed in the bunch, and then we got away with a group at the first climb, and then we were caught back, but I got away again, and that's why I could take points at the mountains, and I'm very happy with this jersey.
A good day in the hills then for the 23-year-old Belgian rider who received the polka dot jersey in Taunton. If you follow bike racing, you see more than your fair share of crashes, and it always amazes me just how resilient the riders are and how quickly they get back on the bike. At the end of a long, hard day, everyone heads off to the tour hotels to rest, refuel and relax. And if you're a team who had a rider involved in today's crash, well, it's time to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate for us and for Martin today, of course. We're in an ideal position. The South Australian team was leading out the sprint for Gene Bates, and unfortunately somebody cut in on the inside of the corner who then clipped the wheel and then careered into the side of Martin and took Martin out and 10 other riders into the barriers.
You don't feel it that much when it just happened because your adrenaline is pumping, and you don't feel that bad because you want to get up and get on going and finish the race. I didn't break anything. I had a lot of bruises everywhere. It was a big tumble, so I don't think there is a part of my body where I don't have a scratch or are hurt. But yeah.
In one way, we're lucky that Martin's still fine and he'll be fit to ride tomorrow. But on the other hand, it could have been the victory in the jersey today.
with hardly a flat metre on stage 3 through the West Midlands, 152 kilometres from Worcester Racecourse to Wolverhampton via the Malvern Hills and the Severn Valley. 3 major hills on the day, the first 2 of which are Category 1 climbs before a tricky city centre finish. Along the way, the riders passed through the beautiful countryside of the Severn Valley before heading up to Telford and Iron Bridge, birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. The route then swings around to Wolverhampton, passing close to Whittock Manor and its impressive formal Victorian Edwardian gardens. And so we're in Worcester for the start of stage 3, and the big question this morning is, after the crash in Taunton, will all the walking wounded turn up? Perhaps the biggest victim of the crash was Chocolat-Jacques' Stephen Cathoven. He finished second on stage 1 and on paper he was the fastest sprinter in the leading group.
I was in second position at 200 meters of the finish, and I hoped to win. But all of a sudden the guy of CSC on the right of me, he hit me very hard, and I lost control of my bike. And I hit the sidewalk very hard, and the other guys, they kept on coming and falling. The next moment you're lying on the sidewalk in a lot of pain, and you know the victory is gone. The points joist is gone, everything is gone.
Well, I'm pleased to say that Martin Pedersen has made it to the start today after some hard work at the team hotel last night, but I think he'll be wearing a new shirt.
But one rider that hasn't made it to the start is Cathoven. His injuries were too severe, and so he's not in this peloton that's rolling out from the racecourse in Worcester, and they're heading off to Wolverhampton today, a distance of 95 miles. Well, if the day before was tough, I reckon this one is equally as hard, because they've got the Malvern Hills to top and Ankerdine Hill, which is a 17% climb. So it's another opportunity for the riders who are bidding to try and win the King of the Mountains to show their style. It's just cruising out of the city of Worcester, home of Elgar. And once again, it is an opportunity for the school kids to come out, and they love it. Well, look at this, already an attack beginning to develop, and we've barely left the perimeter of the city of Worcester, and they're on the attack already.
That's a very brave move, Hugh. Kilometre zero on a road like this. He'll be hoping that other riders come with him, because if he stays out there on his own all day, he won't be too happy at dinner.
Well, that was Freddie Bichot of the Agritable team. Well, I can tell you that he's over 11 minutes behind on GC, so it is a chance then for the low-place riders to go clear, and he's got 2 more riders with him, so we've got a trio now ahead. That's Bichot, Matt Goss of CSC, and Paul Manning of the Great Britain team.
I actually noticed, Hugh, that Paul was sat on the front of the start line, and I think he was up for today.
More riders coming across, and it's easy to note here that the riders that are giving the peloton the slip are all riders that are lowly placed and missed the key move the day before. And this is often what happens in stage races. Everybody can't win the yellow jersey, but lots of riders can win stages along the way, and they've taken their opportunity well. The 3 are going to be joined by 5 more, and that will give us 8 ahead. Now then, the yellow jersey will be watching this move with interest. They will have monitored who are the riders that have gone ahead, and of course they're all wired for sound, aren't they?
Yeah, what happens, Hugh, is the bunch will let a group go, but not too far, and then all the numbers will come back over race radio, and the team leaders will check that off, and if there's no one dangerous in the group, then they might let it go. Obviously, if there's someone dangerous on GC, then they'll soon bring it back.
Now, this is the first climb, Malvern Hills. And the breakdown of the leaders: Goss, Manning, Swift, and Mascant is there, Partridge, Bichot, Dempster and Hammond. And the highest placed rider in this group is Matt Goss, 39th overall at 11 minutes and 15 seconds back. Well, Matt Goss performed very well in the Tour of Britain the other year here, and he finished 3rd on one stage and actually held a yellow jersey before he had to retire with a knee problem. But the Tinkoff boys at the top of the moment do not seem too concerned about this. They're more than happy, I would think, to let these riders go clear. It's just taking a bit of the pressure off them.
Yeah, they're certainly not putting any pressure on themselves at all at the moment. Again, you know, waiting till later on. But just happy to let this group go out.
Keep an eye out for Ben Swift. He'll be challenging very, very strongly for more points in the King of the Mountains. This 19-year-old Yorkshire lad who has had some stunning performances to his credit already. He's got a big future, has Swift, and Swift will be looking to try and increase his tally. He'll be setting his stall out to try and get this King of the Mountains title. At the moment at the front, it's Manning in that Great Britain jersey. And of course Manning is a current world champion for the team pursuit and a double Commonwealth Games gold medalist from Melbourne. This is the back of the front group. That's number 41, as you can see, Martin Maskant. He's wearing the white jersey, which means he's the leader of the competition on the European circuit. He's actually on the Rabobank team. Ben Swift is just 2 ahead of him, and if Swift does want to pick up some points, he's going to have to make a move. He must have heard me. He's just eased himself out as we're getting very near the summit now, and this is a first category climb, so there's valuable points. It's 10 for first, 8 for second, and it goes all the way down to 8th place. Swift making a big effort here. He's going to overhaul Manning just as they get near to the line, and that's exactly how it finishes. It's Swift then for a maximum 10, and Manning got 8. So the young Rotherham rider picking up very valuable points there.
Young Swifty, 19 years old there. Just imagine how good he's going to be when he actually grows up.
Must admit his baby face belies his strength and determination. There's the result confirmed. Manning was second, he got the 8. Matt Goss was third for 6, and Roger Hammond just cruising over the line in 4th spot for 5. Now the Tinkoff boys will be happy to let this group stay ahead. They'll probably try and keep the gap pegged at around 5 to 6 minutes. Yellow jersey just getting an armchair ride. The back wheel of his teammates, and the Fuerteventura rider is just behind them as well. Glorious part of the country this. From the summit of the climb they will descend quickly, and then they traverse some difficult corrugations before they line up for the climb of Ankerdine, and Ankerdine is a 17% affair, as I said at the top of the stage. Crowd are enjoying this, picking out the superstars as they go by. So the next tough test we're getting very near to now is another first category affair, and this leading group are still together. Ben Swift going well. He'll be keen to try and add more points. One of the team cars coming up.
Yeah, bringing some more food and drink up to the riders. You know, these guys are going to be working hard and fairly constant, so they'll need refreshment fairly periodically.
Drinking and eating on the hoof here. They have pockets in the back of the jersey where they carry food, and of course there are official feeding stations along the way where musettes are handed up. Always a very dangerous area as well. If you don't get your arm through the loop of those musette, often there are crashes occur. Well, nice easy pace being set here at the front of the big field, and nobody too bothered at this stage, which is playing into the hands very, very nicely of the leaders. This is the start of Ankerdine. They've just turned a sharp corner at the bottom there. There's a glorious pub actually at the bottom there that serves magnificent food. Can you believe it? I actually rode up this climb the other day for the local television programme, Rob, and it's probably one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my life.
Well, more for you, Hugh.
Absolutely, my heart was pounding at the top. I'd forgotten just how hard it was.
I thought those days were over for you.
Well, they are now, I can tell you. And there's Manning on the right, and Swift is at the side of him. Maskant is just to the left of him, and Swift once again over the bars, crouching there as Manning continues to hold the head of the breakaway group. Now then, if Ben Swift could pick another 10 points up here, that would do him a power of good to challenge in the King of the Mountains contest. Getting very near to the top, threading their way under the trees, and the crowd a little bit sparse here in the lower slopes, but they've turned out all along the route. Now then, look out for Ben Swift. When's he going to pounce to try and go past Paul Manning. Manning still contend to lead, but here comes Swift on the left. He's such a talent, isn't he, this young fella? He can turn a nifty pedal on the track as well. He's going to be faced with a problem when we get to the London Olympics. It'll be, will he ride on the track or will he ride on the road? So that is a replication of the result of the first two over the top of the Malvern Hills. Just the same, Swift comes over first for 10 and Manning second for 8. So he's building a nice tally of points. Tinkoff still there at the head of the field. There it is confirmed. Goss coming over in fourth spot. And just behind you can see the rest of the points. Won't affect Swift's overall challenge for the polka dot jersey. This is the rangy Australian on the front here. This is Zachariah Dempster, based in Varese, actually in North Italy.
Yeah, Zach, he's part of the Australian Institute squad, and it's basically the squad that the British team we've based ourselves on. They've been running for the last 12 or 15 years now and have an extremely good program, and it's one that we're trying to replicate and hopefully have surpassed.
Well, I said the crowds are sparse on the lower slopes of the climb, but just look here. They must be 10 deep in places as they greet the peloton. And they are near enough 4 minutes behind the leaders now. 33 miles covered at this stage, so there's still a long way to go and a lot to play for. But Ben Swift started the day with 8 points in 5th place in the King of the Mountains, and those 20 points that he's now picked up has put him at the head of the table. And there's still one more climb to come. It's a third cat, but there's still points available. There's Swift on the far side, Manning fully concentrated. He was born actually not too far from Wolverhampton, from over on the Cannock Way. Well, there it is, 4 minutes and 19 seconds now. That's a nice, handy working cushion for the leading group.
Yeah, they'll be pretty happy with that. And I also just noticed young Rob Partridge from the recycling team's managed to sneak himself in there, so he's doing himself the power of good.
It's the final climb, this Sutton Bank, and we're in the Vale of the Severn here, not too far from Ironbridge and Bridge North. Still difficult country. Just see Roger Hammond on the outside, a typical stocky figure of his. And we must never forget, of course, that Roger Hammond's a former junior World Cyclo-Cross champion. But look at this. This is an attack by Matt Goss. Goss has gone for a very early strike for home because we've only covered 78 miles, so we've still got nearly 27 miles to go. But Goss, with a speculative move, just gets clear of the rest. And looked like Ben Swift at the head of that group, just tidying up the 3 points. Well, Ben Swift's had an absolute cracking day in the mountains today. Ryder being detached as well. There it is, Goss first, Swift did get the 3, Manning got the 2, and Hammond picked up the 1. That's the lovely arch in Hightown of Bridge North, a beautiful, beautiful farming community that sits 14 miles outside of Wolverhampton. Now then, we're nearing the finish now, and there's a little bit of cat and mouse stuff beginning to develop. They come down the Bridge North Road to Compton Island, then they swing up the little drag that'll line them up for Chapel Ash, and then it'll be up to the island and right, and a ring road finish that's rising all of the time. Well, riders are being dropped as we go under the kilometre sign. Partridge, Rob Partridge of Wales and recycling team has lost contact, and Manning is just dangling off the front there. He's got a couple of bike lengths advantage. Goss is left in second position. Then it's Hammond, who's going to make the first big move here to try and tidy the stage up. Now, this is Chapel Ash, and we are getting very close to the finish now. Just ahead of them is the island where they'll swing round to line up for the finishing funnel. And as I said, it is an uphill affair. Getting very, very tense. It's getting very tense. Who is going to lead it out? Manning is in the worst position of all because you never want to lead a sprint out. It's always better to be 2 or 3 back, and you've got the element of surprise then. So Manning will take them round the island. Goss is second, and Goss is a very, very strong sprinter. So this is it, Manning bringing them into sight of the line. and there's a huge crowd here in Wolverhampton greeting them and roaring them on. Goss is over there. This is a move by Freddie Bichot of Agritable, and it is Bichot of Agritable that's leading it out. Here comes the challenge from Goss, and Hammond can't get on terms, and it's going to be the Aussie Matthew Goss that takes it. Goss comes up to the line and takes the stage. Freddie Bichot of Agritable finishes second, and Roger Hammond third. Now, this is Ben Swift. It doesn't matter that he's been detached from the leaders. He's had a fantastic day in the mountains, and he's taken his tally of points to 31, which gives him an emphatic lead in the King of the Mountains over Paul Manning. And he's getting a massive reception. He's getting an absolute glorious welcome to the line here in Wolverhampton. The young 19-year-old will be on the podium later to receive the King of the Mountains jersey. And let me tell you, that youngster from Rotherham will defend that lead to the bitter end.
Well, I had that's what I wanted to do, to get the polka dot jersey so I could wear it for tomorrow, so in my home stage, so hopefully I should have a fairly decent lead now, so hopefully I can keep it till the end.
And here comes the main bunch, and Mark Cavendish in his usual position, winning the sprint to claim 9th on the stage. But it was an opportunity for the riders that missed the key move to Taunton to go away, and in the end it was the sprinting power of the young Australian Matthew Goss that gave him his first stage victory ever in the Tour of Britain. Wonderful ride by this youngster.
Matt Goss taking stage 3, winning the sprint finish in Wolverhampton ahead of Freddie Bichot and Great Britain's Roger Hammond. Paul Manning, Ben Swift and Rob Partridge all in the top 8. In fact, there were 6 British riders in the top 10. The Australian enjoying his moment on the podium. He wore the yellow jersey for a day in last year's tour, but this meant more to the young CSC rider.
I was third on a stage 2 CSC rider in the first stage last year, and I got the yellow jersey in bonus sprints, but I think winning a stage seems a lot better to me.
Today's stage didn't have a major impact on the general classification. None of the riders in the break threatened Trusov's lead. He retains the yellow jersey with Luke Roberts in second, ahead of Pete Rujakers. So another day in yellow for Nikolai Trusov, but can he hold on all the way to Glasgow? It's all change in the Eon King of the Mountains competition, with young British rider Ben Swift on top. He led over the Malvern Hills and never looked back.
To get a jersey, it's quite pleasing, so just looked to get in the early move. I knew there'd be an early move with Tinkoff riding, so got in that, and then just took first over the first 2 climbs and then second on the third. So I've built up a fairly decent lead now, so hopefully maybe I'll be able to keep it till they finish with the race. It was just exciting to be up the road, just in the action again, so especially after missing out yesterday. I had got in a few breaks yesterday which didn't work out, and then missed the final split. But just to be there, it's feeling good actually.
In the sprints, the new leader is Zachary Dempster from the South Australian team. The national under-23 time trial champion won all 3 sprints in stage 3 to claim the red, white and blue jersey. Stage 4 is a 165-kilometre ride through the Yorkshire countryside, starting from Rother Valley Country Park in Rotherham. It's a stage with 3 hotspot sprints and a sting in the tail, with a Category 1 climb of the Cow and Calf, just 20 kilometres from the finish, as well as a nasty uphill finale in the streets of Bradford. For the spectators along the route, there's the backdrop of the rolling Yorkshire countryside. Along the way, the race passes one of England's great country houses, Harewood, home to the Queen's cousin Earl Harewood and Yorkshire's most visited historic house. The finish is in Lister Park, the site of Cartwright House, one of Bradford's finest museums. So after the prologue and 3 of the 6 stages, Nikolai Trusov leads the race here in Yorkshire. But how long can he hold on to the race leader's yellow jersey?
I don't think it's fully decided yet. The Cow and Calf today, the latter part of the stages, it's quite hilly. I think the GC contenders are all going to sit back until then. I think an early break's going to go. But yeah, it's all going to be decided in that latter part of today's stage.
It's not decided yet. It's I think it's Chilingi, Pete Rojakers or me. It's one of us, but it's not decided yet.
The next 2 days is going to be definitely the decider. Yeah.
These are the riders coming to sign on, ready for the start of stage 4. It starts in Rotherham Park in Rotherham. It is always a tradition, of course, that the riders sign on the starting sheet so that the referees know exactly how many have taken the start. Well, that was a shot of young Ben Swift, who won his first ever race as a schoolboy here. Well, let me tell you that this stage is dedicated to the memory of Jane Tomlinson, who, of course, sadly died recently with a long fight against cancer. And her husband, Mike, and son, Stephen, are riding on the tandem here, along with family and close friends for the first mile. And a big crowd, of course, have turned out to see the riders off. And it's a lovely scene here in Rother Valley Park on the outskirts of Rotherham. Tough stage ahead for the competitors to Bradford, 103 miles and 92 riders have taken the start. And these are the Tinkoff boys at the front. That looks a little bit like Comesso to me.
Yeah, Comesso here seems to be still enjoying himself in the twilight years of his career.
Twice an Italian champion, twice a winner of a stage in the Tour de France, the tough Italian. Well, these are the early stages, and there's lots and lots of attacking high speed, and it's going to be a quick stage this. Lots of riders anxious to try and get down the road. 28 riders are still within 55 seconds of the yellow jersey. So, slightest mistake by the rider in charge of the event, and it could all change. Trusov of the Tinkoff team then, still in the lead, sweeping down this long descent, and the field beginning to thin out. When they go into one single line, it's always a telltale sign that the pressure is on. Now then, 3 riders beginning to go clear here. This is Limestone Hill, the first climb today, 3rd category affair, so it's 4 to the first rider over. That was Paul Manning, just ahead of Roger Hammond. So Manning is still picking up good points. There's Ben Swift. Ben Swift then rises to the challenge and picks up 1 point to add to his tally. He's going to keep a grip on that polka dot jersey, and the rest of the field just coming over now behind.
Hammond and Manning both away yesterday and today again, so they seem to be enjoying themselves this week.
Glorious shot of the countryside ahead, and the leading group really settling down to the job in hand now, and that's a handy sized group. The peloton are still chasing, but it's beginning to increase, and it's getting towards the half-minute mark for those riders that have given the main field a slip.
On these roads here, Hugh, it's going to be very, very difficult for this bunch now to bring this group back. You know, it's a very big group. They're working very strongly.
Now, hang on, what's happening here? All of a sudden, they're being told to stop, and look at the gesticulations from the riders. That is the commissaire president out of the roof of the car. Now, there's something happening here. The cars are all at the front of the field, and the race is grinding to a halt. The riders cannot understand it. They're clearly unhappy. They're thinking, we've worked hard to establish this slender advantage, and now we're not allowed to race. They can't quite understand what is happening. But what I can tell you is that as the riders reached the roads of North Yorkshire, the race actually went into what is known as neutralised conditions, and the reason was the necessary precautions were not in place for flat-out competitive racing. So for safety reasons, the riders and backup vehicles progressed as a pack behind a safety car, and until normality was resumed near Tadcaster. It was an opportunity for them to, I don't know, eat on the hoof, have a bit of a chat.
A little bit of lunch, yeah. I mean, some of the riders here will be very thankful for the break, but there'll be a few in there who won't be happy at all.
I think Jill's been finding out more about the eating habits of the riders.
Refuelling out on the road is absolutely vital for the cyclist, and this is the Musette, a little bag of goodies that's handed over in the feed zone, full of all sorts of things, high calorie, including a little bit of brioche. Very tasty.
It's important for any elite athlete to eat during any endurance event, and for a cyclist even more so on a stage race, because of the cumulative fatigue over you know, 3 or 4 days of racing takes its toll. And little often is the key phrase that we tend to use with athletes.
Every night after the race is finished, we start making the food for the next day. So we wash all the bottles that have been used the day before, clean them out, sterilise them, put the energy powder in, add the water, put them into the cool box, they're all ready for the next day. Then we start on the food, bite-sized pieces, so the rider can just take one bite at a time. We have gels, which are an instant energy source, bits of cake and sweet things, some little fruit pastels wrapped up, and then it all goes into the car that night, ready for the race in the morning.
Yeah. It will start again with the same gap. Same time. Tout est schéma. Tout est schéma. Le même. Tout est schéma. Okay, guys. We start the breakaway. Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
I have a front flat tire. I'm stuck in Leeds.
Well, that was rather humorous, wasn't it? But now the race is being set up to restart. 1 or 2 actually jumping away before the commissaire president allows them to. But 65-mile point here. They were neutralised for around about 25 miles, and at this point the front group was set off with the 30-second advantage that they had established before the neutralised section. So this is the countdown before the main peloton is allowed to continue. Some of them trying to get an early start, and 1 or 2 people clearly unhappy about that, but I think trying to get the whole thing reorganised is very difficult. Oh, goodness me. He got run over. Let's have a look at his face here. Is he happy? I don't think so.
That'll be a no.
Now then, this is the leading group once again, setting about the job of trying to get to the finish in Bradford first.
These guys are really going to have to concentrate now and get themselves back into the position that they were before the untimely stop.
Now then, we're approaching the sprint. And this is the sprint at Otley, which is near the foot of the Cow and Calf climb. And Royackers, there he is in the Skill Shimano jersey. He's trying to get on terms with the rider that he's led out. And it looks like the Konica riders up there involved as well. But Royackers is trying to claw back more points in the hotspot sprint competition. Oh, it was very close, that one, wasn't it? I think it was Royackers that got it. Let's take a look. Yes, Van Geerden of the Konica team was second, and For You was third. He's a good sprinter, I tell you, this young Frenchman. Got a silver medal in the World Under-23 Road Championships last year, and he rode actually 8 stages of the Tour de France this year, For You, with a lot of top 10 places. This is the main field, continuing the chase. Yellow jerseys there. Trusov, he can't be happy with this situation.
No, he'll definitely want that back.
Now then, we're on to the Cow and Calf, and this is a really, really long climb. It is a first cat, so 10 points available at the top. And we've got some riders from Spain in this group here, Palomares and David Blanco, and I wouldn't be surprised if these two don't come to the head of affairs to start to turn the screw, because they realise they've got a good advantage, and this can certainly pay off. The peloton are about 50 seconds behind at this stage. An attack coming on the right here. This is one of the Fuerteventura Canarias riders. Here he goes. Just as I said, they love these climbs, the Spanish riders, and you can see just how much it ramps up. It is a really hard, tough, demanding climb.
He went right at the bottom of the climb there, Hugh, so not allowing anyone to get into their rhythm on the climb. He attacks them straight away, and hopefully he's going to bring 1 or 2 riders with him. Everyone seems to be chasing well, but this is quite a long climb.
50 seconds behind the peloton, but this is where the damage is being done at the front, and looks like another Fuerteventura Canarias rider going up as well. So they are actually working to a game plan, and this is dangerous. This is where the yellow jersey of Trusov in that second group could pay the price and lose ground. It's just like it happened to Taunton when the T-Mobile squad paid for it. Now then, 3 riders starting to go clear. David Blanco, looks like Palomares, and the other one actually might be Stuber of the Chocolate Jag squad. But hugging the left-hand side of the curb, contrasting styles, 2 at the front, find they can pedal their way up in the saddle. And then the other member of the trio is out of the saddle. In fact, the third member of that group there is from the Duja Tavira team. And then it's the Chocolate Jack rider trying to come across. There he is. That's Stuba. Stuba trying to come up to join them. This could be the key point, because this is a perfect platform to launch a winning move for victory. Cow and Calf coming at 88 miles, and the distance of the stage 103. So when they get to the summit, they've got about 15 miles to go with a good descent. So that's the way to capitalise on the move. Now then, let's have a look what's happening behind. Well, you can see it's fragmenting, isn't it? Riders grovelling to stay in the wheel.
Looks like the two Fuerteventura riders were indeed working together. The other guy there's just dropped back now. He's basically laid himself on the sword for his teammate.
But it is the rider going well at the front here from the Duja Tavira squad, and that's David Blanco. And it looks like Blanco's the man, in fact, pulling away from the rest, and you can see from that shot just how steep this climb is. Well, Blanco is a very handy bike rider, former winner of the Tour of Portugal, and he's got about 100 metres here over his nearest challengers. A little too early, I would say, to go alone, to stay clear, but it's doing the damage behind, and you may find that those that are trailing will link up. Out of the saddle all of the way, and that plays havoc with the back.
He's absolutely going to be screaming here, his entire body, you know, after the day that they've had and the previous days, to then hit a climb like this. He's going to be in some pain.
Well, Palomares was first to the summit of Prologue, and he also is right up at the front here, so we've got a pretty established climber. But it's Blanco at the moment that's danced his way clear of the others. Now then, what are the developments going to be? This is the critical point of this stage, stage 4 to Bradford. Remember, there's time bonuses on the line of 10, 6 and 4, and if Blanco and Palomares were to stay clear all the way, then the yellow jersey could be taken by one of those two. Here is the summit, and just look at the size of the crowd. They love their racing in Yorkshire. They've produced some fantastic champions in the past. So Blanco, he's over first. He gets the 10 points. These are the second two, Palomares and Tom Stuba of the Chocolate Jack team. Now they need to get together and start to work.
Look at the difference in technique. These two guys are really, really struggling, whereas Blanco was just rock solid on his bike. He's really pumping the form out now.
Like Manuel Loret at the front of the residue of the group, but really it's all about the riders that have gone clear. Now there's the result confirmed. It was Blanco for 10, Palomares coming up for the 8, and I think Ben Swift's lead is okay. He's still going to remain in the polka dot jersey. Palomares will have done himself some good today, but he's still going to be shy of Ben Swift's 32. Now then, down the descent, and they aren't too keen at the moment to get the work done. Palomares comes through, then tucking into the wheel is the rider from the Duja team, Blanco. This is the remnants of the main peloton, and right at the back, finding it hard going, is Christian House of the Navigators team. Good British rider, Christian House. Well, there we are, Bradford. Welcome to the Tour of Britain. Bradford's actually twinned with Roubaix, and that, of course, is the famous finishing point for the Paris-Roubaix over all the cobbles. Now then, we're into the streets of Bradford. It finishes actually in Lister Park, and these are the three leaders now: Palomares, Stuba and Blanco. So they're just about to swing into Lister Park, and that looked like Palomares gesticulating to Stuba at the back for Chocolate Jack, as much as to say, come on, let's have... Oh, what's happened here? Oh, they've got the wrong way. They've actually turned right, and they've got to go through the arch into the park. Well, they've put that right pretty quickly, and it hasn't cost them anything. They're still all together. Right, 1,000 metres to go to the finish. Now, I've been looking at the differences between these riders, and the situation here is that Palomares and Blanco are split on the overall classification by 5 seconds. So if Palomares was to take the stage victory, and Blanco was third, it would mean Palomares gets a 10-second bonus, Blanco would get 4, and that means the 6-second difference would give the yellow jersey to Palomares by 1 second. Now then, is Stuber going to spoil the party, the rider from the Chocolate Jack team? I'm sure they both know how critical this is, the two Spanish riders, but of course that could all change. We're waiting to see here just what Stuber is going to do, the 26-year-old Belgian. He's in the white and red strip, and at the moment he's just tucked in at the back. This is a critical sprint. If the yellow jersey changes, and it will change because Trusov is behind, this will be the 3rd time the yellow jersey has changed in this year's Tour of Britain. Swinging right now, lining up for the finish. It's slightly uphill, so it's a hard pull to the line. Stuber's in 2nd place, but Palomares is leading. Blanco is 3rd, and that looks how it's going to finish from here. Coming up to the line, it's looking like Palomares will take it, and that'll be the sweetest victory of his career. Palomares takes it, Stuber 2nd, and Blanco coming in 3rd. And those 10 seconds are going to be very, very valuable indeed. And the bunch sprint was won by Romain Feyou, the Frenchman, on the Agritabol team, and that will be useful, a useful finishing position for him. Here comes the rest of the bunch sprinting it out. It's very, very close indeed, but it looks like Cavendish just beating Swift to the line at the end of another very tough stage. They'll be pleased to see the line as they freewheel over, and lots of lost contact as well. But here it is again. He knows how important that is. Palomares wins the stage, and that will give him the yellow jersey.
So the stage goes to Adrian Palomares ahead of his breakaway companions Blanco and Stuber, with Agritubal's Romain Feyou winning the sprint at the head of the peloton. The overnight race leader, Nikolai Trusov, was 30th, a minute behind Palomares. In the general classification, Palomares and David Blanco leapfrog Luke Roberts and Pete Royackers, while Britain's Daniel Lloyd slips out of the top 8.
I'm very happy because this Tour of Britain was a very important objective for the Team Ventura Canaris, and at least we've already won 1 stage. I'm currently the leader. Let's see how long for.
The green jersey is now firmly in the grip of French youngster Romain Feyou, who remains hungry for more glory in the coming stages.
I know that I'm usually fit in September, and I was aiming to win, but today someone was stronger in the hills. So now it's a compromise, but never mind. Now I'll try to win a stage tomorrow. The last day's sprint finish might be more difficult.
Stage 5 is through the northwest of England, a 170-kilometre race from Liverpool to Kendall. The first 50 kilometres follows the beautiful Lancashire coast, before 3 Category 2 climbs in the Lake District. The last 2 are separated by just 4 kilometres, before the downhill run to Kendall and another nasty uphill finish. Near the start in Crosby, Liverpool, you can find artist Anthony Gormley's intriguing Another Place. 100 cast figures spread over 3 kilometres of beach. Then the riders race through the Lancashire countryside and north to the finish in the pretty market town of Kendall, gateway to the Lake District. The yellow jersey has changed hands 3 times so far in this year's Tour of Britain. Adrian Palomares is out in front as they head from Liverpool to Kendall, but will he still be there at the end of stage 5?
In Sefton Park, Liverpool, and still 92 riders left in this Tour of Britain as they roll out, but it's still very, very close indeed. There are 10 riders within 20 seconds of the yellow jersey, and David Blanco of the Dujit Havira team is only 1 second away from Adriana Palomares, who is the yellow jersey. So the Fuerteventura Canarias team need to be very, very vigilant today. And the sting in the tail comes right at the end of today's stage. In the final 10 miles, there are 2 second category climbs in the Eon King of the Mountains competition. But the hardest of all the ascents is Beast Banks, 17.5%, and that is the finishing straight. So it's going to be a very hard finish indeed. As usual, the children are all out to support the race as they just weave their way out to the edge of the city. And this is an early break that's already developing here. And Cavendish has read the move. So Mark Cavendish possibly thinking of his 11th win of the season. And that would equal, of course, the outright record of Alessandro Patacchi as a first-year professional. Now then, there's no problem here with this group. They're spinning along nicely. Cavendish has gone away, and he's also got Serov with him. Yellow jersey near the front, and the Fuerteventura are all packing closely on the head of the field.
Is that you? Throw your hand up, mate. Throw your hand up and stop. I'll be there in a minute.
It's Neil Stevens, actually, the manager of the young AIS Australian team, and the mechanic who's getting a wheel ready. So I think one of his riders has had a puncture. Simon Clark, actually, is the man who's got the puncture, and he's going well. He's actually lying 7th overall in the race at the moment. Looks like it's going to be a new bike, so there's no wheel change here. Clark picks up a new bike and gets a hefty push away. And this always, of course, disrupts your rhythm and it hurts the legs.
Yeah, and with Clark here being in the top 10 on GC, I'm sure he's going to have some team riders sent back to him.
Let's hear what
Zach,
Neil's
you got to come back here for Simon, mate. You got to come back here for Simon. Zach, come on. Zach and Johnny, where are you?
So he's calling Zach Dempster back and one of his teammates to then help Clark back up. This is the normal thing in stage race riding as we get back to the leaders. And look at Cavendish. He's licking his lips at the thought of a second stage victory, and he's going it alone. It's a long way on your own, Cav. You could do with some support. So Cavendish just hanging off the front of the group, and he's waiting for somebody to come up and join him.
Stay where you are, Johnny. Stay where you are, mate.
That's the hotspot points leader there. And that, of course, is Zachary Dempster, and he got in his wheel Clark, but these are the two clear leaders now, and Serov is 11 minutes behind on general classification, so he won't affect the yellow jersey.
We're not really allowed to. Yeah, we can. Yeah. Good work, mate. Bloody oath. That Burt racing in bits, we actually brought it back together there. Your turns brought that race back together. Unfortunately, that Burt race really good.
It was a bit heartbreaking dropping through all the groups. You have to go back.
Really good, mate. No, proud of you.
Well, that's Johnny Walker talking to Neil Stevens, the manager. Neil Stevens is a man who won a stage in the Tour de France before. Here are our two leaders, and they're going well. The Russian is a powerful young track rider, and that's Alessandro Serov. And with Cavendish, this could be a handy move.
Yeah, definitely. What with Cav's sprinting ability and Serov, I mean, he's one of the top Russian pursuiters, so he's a real powerhouse. So this is a nice little move for Cav.
These are the chasers, but they're actually 3 minutes and 16 seconds back. So it's a day then for Cavendish to pick up points in the hotspot sprint competition, and also for Serov to capitalise on more points in the King of the Mountains. But Cavendish will be out, of course, to try and take away a classification jersey. 65 seconds further back are the main peloton. So this is an intriguing stage, this penultimate leg up to Kendall. And remember, that ferocious climb right at the end of Beast Banks will sort them out. High speed as they're coming to the third sprint of the day, and that's at Hornby on 85 miles. And I can tell you that Mark Cavendish has picked up maximum points in the previous two. Now then, he's looking for more points as well on this one. And his tally at the end of the day, when he gets this 5, if he does get it, yes, it's easy, isn't it? That'll take him up to 22, and that means he will be the overall leader in the hotspot sprint competition. He's gone 2 ahead of Zachary Dempster. Now they're setting their stall out in the closing stages here for a tilt at a stage victory in Kendall. This is the group that they left, and they're still together, but making no inroads at all into the main peloton. In fact, I think there's a fair chance the peloton could actually pick those up before the finish. Now they're approaching the first of the concluding 2 climbs. This is Old Town, second category affair. So 6 to the leader over the top, and Serov settling down here to raise his game. And Cav, I think, looked to be in a little bit of trouble there. The Fuerteventura team are pulling the field along to defend the yellow jersey, and that, of course, is Adriana Palomares.
Yeah, today's stage got a real sting in the tail, and yeah, as we can see, Cav's being dropped. Probably not too surprising, but you know, let's hope that he can keep away from the bunch. I mean, if he does, that'll certainly be a poke in the eye to people that just class him as a sitting sprinter, that's for sure.
Well, of course, Cav has expended a lot of energy along the way by winning those 3 hotspot sprints. It's all a matter of, has he got any strength left in the tank to stay ahead of the main field? But Serov looks full of riding as he now settles down to consume the closing miles on his way to Kendall. It would be the 2nd stage victory for a Tinkoff rider if he can nail this one.
Yeah, and Serov here, he really is motoring now. He's really got the bit between his teeth and showing the strength that he's got.
The riders that he's left are now nearing the summit of Old Town. Here they are.
Yep, and these guys, they're coming on quick too. We've not seen Cav for a little while, so hopefully he's still a little way ahead and over the next climb.
Cavendish has already gone over the top of that climb. It was actually Guisenen that got 3rd from Lund, as you could see on the caption. But now the Fuerteventura Canarias team realise that they've got to try and pull that group back, because one of the riders, Guisenen, is only 1 minute and 31 seconds back off the yellow jersey, and that is dangerous. So this is going right down to the wire in Kendall, and the pace is being lifted all the time. But Serov has got speed to spare here. The Russian, very, very powerful, approaching the end of Glees Hill, and he's got a nice downhill section before he enters into the streets of Kendall. Took off at the right time, perfect time in fact. Saw that Cav was beginning to buckle a little bit and just applied the pressure, and now he's on his own. He can find his own rhythm, he's more comfortable. Right at the back of the group there is Anders Lund, Danish rider on the CSC team. And right at the front, you can see, is Floris Guisenen, who is rather keen to keep the pace high. But now we are into the streets of Kendall with the leader Serov, as the result is confirmed for you of that last mountain climb. And these 4, I can tell you, are getting ever nearer to Cavendish, and the peloton are getting ever nearer to those 4. So they could all come together before the finish. They're not going to catch this guy as he goes under the 1 kilometre side. Get ready for the left-hander that'll line them up for Beast Banks. He's 17.5% ascent, and it's the post office on Beast Banks where Postman Pat came from. Thought you'd like to know that, Rob?
Postman Pat, my favourite.
Right, now just look here, just how low the gear is. Look at the cadence, Rob. That underlines how stiff this climb is.
Yeah, you know, he's not going very fast at all, and the motorbike cars struggling not to stall themselves. So that just really shows the gradient. At the end of the day, that's going to be tough.
It is tough, and he's forced out of the saddle already, but of course he has got the incentive of winning this stage, and when you've got the line just ahead of you, that of course draws you out and you find extra power. He's working hard, isn't he? The shoulders are rolling. Just look at this. It's a good job that he's got over a minute's cushion over his nearest challenger.
You can just see the crowds. He won't be feeling much at all. They'll really, really be urging him on here.
Yes, he's got the line in his sights now, and I tell you, the crowds have turned out in their thousands in Kendall to support the Tour of Britain. Up and up it goes, all the way to the line. He can see the finishing gantry ahead of him now. What a wonderful moment for any athlete, and he punches the air with delight. Alexander Serov, the Tinkoff rider, the 24-year-old Russian, takes the stage victory in Kendall. And there's Cavendish coming around the corner. You can see the motorbike in the distance, and that is the motorbike that is ahead of the next group. And it's going to be nip and tuck now up the final climb, and it's going to be really a question, has Cav got enough left in the tank to hold off the challenge of the main field? And here they are. It is getting very, very close. The chasers have been caught, and the whole peloton now are chasing down Cav. What has he got left? Here they come into the closing stages. We should see Cav. Here he is. The line can't come quick enough. He must be getting concerned. Oh dear, is he going to hang on to second? He is going to be tight. Those weary legs, he asks for a little more power as he looks ahead for the line. This is Romain Fayou, the agritable French rider that's gone away. He's in the green jersey, and he's going to gain some valuable time here. He's chasing down Cav. Cav's just about going to make it. Cavendish gets second, Fayou gets third, and Rabon comes over the line fourth. And I think it was Garrido actually that finished in fifth place, but that is a very important finish. I saw the yellow jersey right up there as well, so Palomares was about seventh, so that's the place to finish, because that will mean he will hang on to his yellow jersey.
A second stage win for Team Tinkoff, with Mark Cavendish clinging to second place and Romain Fayou inches behind in third. Fayou moves into third in the general classification, with 3 riders within 3 seconds of each other and 14 riders now within 42 seconds of Adrian Palomares. Fayou retains the green jersey, and Mark Cavendish has taken the lead in the sprints competition by just 2 points.
I ended up in a break, but unfortunately it was 2 GC riders in the break, so you know, it was always going to be hard for it to stay away, so it was a case of attacking the break, which I tried until I finally got away with Serov, and yeah, he was just stronger than me. He was going like a motorbike, so yeah, I'm happy to get second behind Serov anyway, you know.
Into Scotland for the 6th and final stage, 157 kilometres from Dumfries to Glasgow through the rolling hills of the southern uplands. The usual 3 hotspot sprints are interspersed with 3 Category 3 climbs before the downhill run into Glasgow for a city centre finish on the banks of the River Clyde. So the stage starts in the royal borough of Dumfries on the banks of the River Nith, known as the Queen of the South. During the stage, the riders will pass the historic Drumlanrig Castle, one of southern Scotland's most popular visitor attractions. Glasgow was the host town for the start of last year's Tour of Britain. Now we're back for the grand finale. After 6 days of blue skies, I'm afraid to say the weather has finally taken a turn for the worse as we arrive in Scotland. And it'll be interesting to see how the conditions affect things as the race reaches its climax here in Glasgow.
Well, these are the 89 survivors just preparing to start the final stage of the Tour of Britain, which will take them from Dumfries here in Dock Park through to Glasgow, a distance of 96 miles. And it is going to be an intriguing stage, this. The closest winning margin ever came in 2005 when the Belgian Nick Noyans pipped the Dane Michael Blaudsen by a scant 8 seconds. But this is likely to be very much closer than that, because as we start the stage, there's only 1 second separating the overall leader, and that's Palomares from his nearest challenger, and that is David Blanco. And then at 3 seconds is the Frenchman Romain Fayou, and he is a big sprinter, and it's surely going to play into the hands of the sprinter today, because he'll be licking his lips at the thought of picking up a 3-second bonus at one of the hotspot sprints. Well, there are dreary conditions at the start here as they pedal out of Dumfries. There's rain in the air and it is quite windy. And right on the front, as they get to the edge of the starting town, is the team of Fuerteventura Canarias, and they've got a real job in their hands today to contain the attacks.
Yeah, you can see the riders starting already. They're all wearing their winter clothes. It looks like winter's here already, Hugh. Gloves, overshoes. You know, they're tired now, so they're going to be trying to keep themselves as warm as possible just to conserve the energy for later on.
hugging the right side of the road here, and the speed's already high. And as Rob said, one or two got the racing capes on, and the long sleeves are in evidence. That's Pete Royakas, who's been a strong challenger throughout the race for the hotspot sprint. There is the leader on the green jersey, and that is Romain Fayou, and he's starting to move near the front now, and he's obviously never going to let a trick develop here without him being involved. This is the little group that have slipped away for the first climb today. This is Clove Head. It's third cat, so there's only 4 points for first, and Ben Swift is pretty safe in the lead in the King of the Mountains. But this is young Andy Tennant of the Great Britain team on the front, and he's a former World Junior 3,000 metre individual pursuit champion, comes from Wolverhampton. Back of the field, they're beginning to stretch out a little bit here. Nobody's taking much interest in this little group that's trying to go away. Young Tennant was there. Tom Stuber was also up there, and I think the other member of that group looked like Zach Dempster, the rangy Australian, who's been very prominent in the competition of the hotspot sprint. And the leaders have gone through the summit of the climb, and news coming through to me was young Andy Tennant actually just tucked in at the back of the group there that picked up the points, and it's confirmed. Tennant for 4, Contrini then got the 2, and then it was Stuber and Dempster for 1. So that confirms that Ben Swift is the winner of the King of the Mountains. He cannot be beaten, so that's a nice title won by the 19-year-old from Rotherham.
These rolling roads, you can see it provides some fantastic launch pads for people to use to try and get themselves away. As you can see, the bunch is rolling pretty quick, but as soon as they hit the little bumps, it just creates an opportunity for people to have a go.
Well, we're nearing the first sprint of the day at Drumlanrig Castle, and this, of course, is the opportunity for the French sprinter, for you, to try and pick up the 3-second bonus. If he does that, then he will be level with Palomares in the overall standings. So this is a very, very important sprint indeed. And Palomares is a climber, and we'll know he's under pressure here because the Frenchman was second in the World Under-23 Road Championships last year and figured strongly in some of the early Tour de France stages in the gallops at the end. So this is going to be the opportunity for the Agritabel rider to get level in overall standings in general classification with the Spanish rider Palomares. They're getting very close to it now. Who is going to do the leading out? Fayou will be looking for one of his teammates to help him. And here we are, he's gone himself over the cattle grid, and he's burying himself. He knows that this could win him the Tour of Britain. Oh, he's left the rest for dead. Look at this, the importance of the sprint is being reflected as we get a great shot there of Drumlanrig Castle. Fayou getting that quite comfortably, and a 3-second bonus. And that is so important because it means now he is level then with Palomares on the general classification standings. And going to count back in the prologue, it means actually he is 0.49 in front of the Spaniard on overall general classification. So if the Spaniard and his team cannot find a recipe then to get back level, this Frenchman is going to become the winner of this Tour of Britain.
This peloton here was absolutely blown to pieces. I think what you could tell there was that the Agritabel guys were riding really quickly, trying to lead out Fayou, and it's worked, but it's the damage that it's created behind is fairly phenomenal here.
Glorious countryside here, and all the riders grovelling to get into the pace of the wheel in front as the bunch starts to come back together. But I'm just waiting for the first serious attack. That's Ben Swift, the leader on the King of the Mountains competition. He's wearing a long-sleeve jersey today to try and keep warm. Skill Shimano presence there, and they're all back together. We're heading on now towards the second climb of the day. This is Whiteside Hill, and this, just like the previous one, is another third category counter. That right-hander nice and comfortably. The route well marshalled all the way. It's a good route. It's been designed by Graham Jones, former Tour de France rider, and of course the technical director Mick Bennett. They put their wise heads together, and it has given us a superb racing route throughout the whole of the country. There's the yellow jersey, Palomares, and he knows he's got a serious problem on his hands.
You could see the guys there having to really slow down on the bends. They're quite cold and very damp, so that's going to take a bit more out of the legs.
Little group getting clear here. This is a break beginning to develop. That's Mascan to the Rabobank team on the right, and Comesso is there. He's looking back. He's on the Tinkoff team, and these three are beginning to, four in fact, are beginning to move clear. There's a rider from Chocolate Jack there as well, Hooverlink, and these are the dangerous moves that need an eye keeping on all of the time. We've got somebody here as well from Skill Shimano, and it's beginning to fragment significantly here as they pedal across this open section.
This is one of those pieces of road that I was saying that the guys will use. They'll launch pad off, and as we can see, the damage created again behind is pretty big.
He's an attack by a Great Britain rider. That's Paul Manning, actually. He really has been very aggressive over the last 3 days. Ats Comesso sat at the back, a real Italian comedian who's had an astonishing career, probably in the twilight of his career now, but he's a big sprinter, and if this group is allowed to get clear, he will take some stopping for a third stage victory for the Tinkoff team. But here comes Manning. Good move by Paul Manning.
Paul really is on fire at the moment. As we've said, this is his third day now out at the front of the peloton. So I know Paul, and he'll be enjoying himself this week.
Certainly is. It's not decisive. The main peloton are about 200 metres back, but if they allow these to slip away, this is the ideal move then to set them up for a tilt at a stage victory in Glasgow. One or two others trying to come across, and the Skill Shimano rider looking back as much as to say, I don't think this is going to stick.
There's a lot of panic going on behind at the front of the peloton. Lots of people can see that this move could go away, so they all want a piece of the action.
Looks like the Skill Shimano rider at the back. He's going to drop back, but Manning is persisting here at the front. He's a world-class team pursuiter and individual pursuiter, and throughout his career, he's had some pretty handy road performances as well. He rides on the Landbrouw Credit team in Belgium, so he gets a wealth of continental preparation. This is the start of the second climb of Whiteside Hill. It's another third category affair, and Manning looks as though he's got wings on his wheels here. He's pedalling away from them.
He's not hanging around for anyone today. He really wants to keep the pressure on, and you know, if anyone comes with him, then fair enough. But if not, he'll be happy to be out there on his own. Well,
he personifies style and class, smooth, effortless pedaling technique. This, of course, is the hallmark of a pursuiter, and he's going it alone. It's an early strike for home, believe me, but maybe one or two will come across. He's had a tilt at trying to win a stage on several occasions over the years. He's always been denied the top spot, but he's figured quite strongly in the action, and now Manning is leading the charge up this hill and looking very, very good. He takes the 4 points at the top, and he is actually currently second overall in the King of the Mountains competition. But the question you've got to ask yourself here, is he going to continue? I would have thought it would have been better to sit up and wait for the rest of the break that he's pedalled away from.
Yeah, it looks like he's just freewheeling a bit, taking on a bit of food, and hopefully the group behind, and as we say that, yes, they've caught him, and they're all together. So this should be a nice group now. Hopefully they're still got a few seconds ahead of the bunch.
So the five have now linked up, and Manning is looking very, very comfortable. He is actually going to retire after the Beijing Olympics, so another medal at the Olympics and probably a stage win today would be a nice bonus to add onto his already very impressive CV. This is the feeding station.
This is one of the most dangerous parts of the race now, where all the soigneurs are hanging out with the bags, and the riders all come in, and there's often crashes.
Well, the roads are drying out now, and the wind is becoming a little more favourable, and so these five can settle down to a high-speed approach to the finish in Glasgow. And Comesso, the experienced, stocky little Italian, saying to the rest, come on, we need to keep working evenly here, as they're getting towards the second hotspot sprint at Gelspin. They'll have covered 53.5 miles when they get there. On the front is Mascant in the white jersey, but it looks like the rider from Chocolate Jacks will take the maximum points, Hooverlink, and so that will not affect the overall standings. So there is the result confirmed. Houveling did take the 5 points from Maskant, Manning third, and Comesso in fourth place. Well, the bunch are not too bothered about this move. It certainly suits the key players for the overall classification. Aerial shot then of the group, working consistently, and the speed increasing significantly.
We can see here, Hugh, the wind will be coming from the left, so all the riders are moving up out of the wind, and the riders moving back down the left-hand side, protecting the riders coming up.
And one of the team cars has just been up to talk to their rider.
Yeah, he'll be giving them information, giving them a bit more information of what's happening behind, and just a little bit of encouragement. You know, this is a good group.
This is the third and final sprint of the day at Straven, and Comesso took that, the Italian, but it means that Mark Cavendish has clinched the hotspot sprint competition overall, from Zach Dempster, the Australian, and Pete Royackers in third place.
The bunch now is really moving. As you can see, it's just one long line, everyone trying to protect themselves. This could be interesting, whether this group can now stay away, because this peloton really is working hard.
Well, they've had an advantage of over 2.5 minutes, the 5 riders, but it's too mobile at the front that's beginning to tow the field along now.
Yeah, I think Cav's going for that record, Pataki's record of 11 wins.
If he did win the stage in Glasgow, then he would certainly be level with the great Italian sprinter. But the 5 are still working consistently. Comesso up the front there, and Manning taking on the role of the pace setting, and he must surely be thinking about this stage victory that has eluded him. He's tried so many times but never been able to get on that top spot. But I think he's going to have to get away, because Comesso is the big sprinter in the group there. Yellow jersey coming right to the front of the peloton now. He must surely be thinking, if we can get the 5 back, there are still bonuses, 10, 6 and 4 on the line. Maybe I could give them the slip and get one of those bonuses and jump back over Fayou as leader.
Yeah, I mean, his team director is going to be on the radio telling him exactly what's happening, so it's panic stations.
It's his only chance, isn't it?
I certainly wouldn't want to be in his position at the moment.
Neither would I. So we're now actually into the city of Glasgow, weaving our way through the roads that will eventually bring us to the finish. Now then, Maskant is on the front. Comesso sits second wheel. And just to reiterate my comment, they have got to get away, because this fella on the front packs the biggest punch when it comes to the gallop for the line. And Manning, with his pursuing skills, if he could just give the group the slip and drop into his rhythm, might just set about trying to get a lone victory. Chocolate Jack coming to the front. He's got to sort of think about trying to get away, hasn't he, Rob, if he wants to bid for victory?
Yeah, we could see yesterday where he led the breakout. You know, Paul, he's a fast rider, but he certainly hasn't got a punchy sprint, so he's not going to want to leave it to the very end.
Salvatore Comesso certainly has got a punchy sprint.
He has, and he will be wanting. He'll be watching and hoping that it all stays together for sure.
So on the front is Lars Bak, the talented Danish rider. Swings over, then it's Comesso, Manning coming through. This is how they do it, taking their turns evenly to keep the pace high. And let's have a look at the head of the main field. It still looks like T-Mobile doing the towing. Yeah, they're starting to close it down rather quickly. Now then, if they did pull the 5 back and it came down to a bunch sprint, well, who'd bet against Mark Cavendish for another stage victory? Maskant on the front in the white jersey. You saw the flick of the elbow. That is the professional signal to say, I'm moving over, it's your turn to come through.
Yeah, these guys, they all know that the peloton is coming down on them very quickly, so they're all going to be taking their turn and really putting it in for the finish.
It's Clyde on the right, and of course this long stretch of tarmac, the carpet of tarmac that leads to the finish, holds the drama ahead. We really don't know what the outcome's going to be. Palomares in this group would dearly love to see the group back, and that would leave him just a distant chance of picking up a bonus. Now then, here they are again, the 5. And they must all be thinking now then, shall we make a move? How can we try and give the rest a slip? Manning looks okay to me.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of thought processes going through these guys' minds at the moment. They know they're within striking distance of the finish, but they also know that these guys are coming at them from behind.
So look out for the element of surprise. If you are going to try and risk an attack, you want to try and jump clear from about 3 back and catch the rest by surprise. A long thin line here at the front of the field, which tells us that the screw is being turned and the pace is lifting.
This peloton is, they're going to be travelling at around 37, 38 miles an hour. And this group, obviously, they've been out there for quite a while. They're all starting to look at each other now. This is going to be touch and go.
They can't afford to mess about, and it's last back that's gone to the front and looked as though he's beginning to gather himself for an attack. So the 5 at the front are starting to try and outwit each other as the tempo here on the head of the main peloton is still going quicker and quicker. This is going to go down to a grandstand finish in Glasgow Green.
You can see Cav's got himself there in 5th place on the T-Mobile wheel. That's probably Roger Hammond in front of him, his final lead-out man. So they're putting all the pieces together, Hugh.
Certainly are, but it's the 5, of course, that we feel we've got to concentrate on here. And again, Maskant comes to the front. The pace is eased back, hasn't it, significantly? You can't afford to mess about, lads. That big peloton will swallow you up. That's Hooverlink now coming through, and he looks across, and nobody wants to take it on. Comesso in the yellow and black for Tinkoff. Well, he seems to be the man that's going to try and raise the pace again.
This could all go pear-shaped now for this group. They really are messing around, and they just can't afford to do that at this point in the race.
Green jersey of Romain Fayou is near the front as well. And of course, if they did come back together, then he would be one of the men in with a serious chance of grabbing a time bonus. The yellow jersey had moved up on the outside of him as well. 1 kilometre to go. Oh, look at this. Manning's launching an attack on the outside. Well, that's a perfect move. He's caught the rest by surprise. Comesso is gesticulating to the others as much as to say, come on, contribute to the pace. But Manning attacked perfectly there. He was 3 or 4 back, caught the rest by surprise and jumped away. Main peloton are now under the red kite, so they've got less than 1 kilometre to go. Now then, can Paul Manning hang on to the lead? He really is motivated. He's settling down to the job in hand. Big crowd here waiting for the arrival of the survivors of this year's Tour of Britain, and Manning has got the advantage. He's in the finishing funnel. Now then, is he finally going to achieve what he's been trying to do in the last 3 Tour of Britons? He's been in leading groups, never managed it, but I tell you what, he's managed it this time. And Manning, the double Commonwealth Games gold medalist, takes the stage victory in Glasgow. Here comes the big sprint for second, and it looks like the stocky Italian Comesso getting second over the line, and Hooverlink third. Now let's have a look at the sprint at the head of the peloton, and this is Mark Cavendish coming over the line wearing the hotspot sprint jersey, and Cavendish has tidied that competition up, and those valuable points could see him also winning the green jersey. He may well deny for you the green jersey as well, but there's the winner of the stage. Paul Manning finally wins our stage in the Tour of Britain, and he timed that move to perfection.
That was a typical move by Paul. You know, he got himself clear, and then he didn't look back until he knew he'd got the win.
Non-stop action today from the start.
Britain's Paul Manning rounding off a fantastic tour for the British riders, winning the final stage in Glasgow ahead of Salvatore Comesso, who won the most aggressive rider award for the day. The peloton just failing to catch the breakaway riders. The first overall jersey was decided on the first climb of the day, when Great Britain's Ben Swift was confirmed winner of the Eon King of the Mountains competition, Paul Manning finishing in second. So a special moment for the young rider from Yorkshire, wearing the polka dot jersey in his first Tour of Britain.
Yeah, it's been really good. The racing's just been really positive. It's just been a great race to be part of. So.
And how have you felt in yourself?
Yeah, quite good actually. This year's gone really well for me. I just felt myself getting stronger and stronger, and then just to come here and perform in front of the home crowd, it's been pretty special really.
The sprints competition saw another talented British rider take top honours, Mark Cavendish, just 2 points ahead of 19-year-old Australian Zachary Dempster. And the Manxman also finished top of the points competition for the second year, taking it on the final sprint from Romain Fayou.
It would have been nice to get another stage today, but I couldn't have gone to a better person with Paul, you know, and the team once again gave 100%, gave such a perfect job. It's just unfortunate we didn't have much help from other teams, you know, till towards the end, and we just didn't catch a group back, but, you know, we got the 2 jerseys, so yeah, it's all worthwhile.
So Cavendish back at the podium after earning the yellow jersey in Crystal Palace on the opening day of the tour.
Oh, it's brilliant, you know, to be able to come here and win 2 stages, you know. I think the people who come out and support the event deserve it, I think, so it's nice to be able to do that, you know. And, yeah, it would have been nice for another win, but you can't be too greedy, eh?
Overall victory in the 2007 Tour of Britain goes to Romain Feyou of Agri-Toubel. No stage wins, but a tactically perfect ride from the Frenchman to beat Adrian Palomares by the slimmest of margins. The top British-placed rider was DFL's Evan Oliphant, 16th overall in the general classification.
Yes, of course. I was happy with Crystal Palace because I wasn't too far back. Each day I tried to get some bonus seconds, but early on the racing was quite hard. Yesterday I was able to get away a bit on one of the hills. And today I got the 3 seconds I needed to take overall.
So for the 4th time in the Tour, the yellow jersey has a new owner, but this is the one that counts. Romain Feyou celebrating a fine win on Glasgow Green. Well, what an amazing finish to this year's Tour. After 950 kilometres of racing, the yellow jersey has been decided by just a few fractions of a second, and a great day for the British riders too. That's where we leave the Tour of Britain, but there's more cycling coming up on the BBC in a couple of weeks' time, featuring some of the biggest names in the sport.
I'm a road racer at heart.
Stuttgart is very important for me. We start looking at, you know, the World Championships.
My big ambition is for the road race. I'd really love to win the rainbow jersey.
It's great to see so many people out watching the Tour of Britain this year.
It always comes back for me to the Olympics.
It's always a great honour for me just to ride with the British cycling guys. You know, it's like I have so much fun. And it's a level of professionalism that I don't get with my pro teams.
We had the success on the track for the last few years, and now there's so much success coming from the road.
In 2 weeks' time, there will be more road cycling on the BBC, with all the races live on BBC Interactive and highlights on the Sunday. Well, now we head to Estoril and MotoGP with Susie Perry.